and welcome to Legal Affairs. My name is Diamond Liddy, and I'm the public defender of the 19th Judicial Circuit. We have a wonderful, wonderful show, and it's about something very close to my heart, which is diversion courts in the 19th Judicial Circuit. And I am so honored to have next to me Katie Alonso and Jessica Holberton. And both of them have been with our office for many, many, many years, and I'm blessed to have them. And they run the diversion court system in the 19th Judicial Court system. And I'm sure people that are watching are saying, what the heck is the diversion court system? So before we get into that and talk about the nuances of what it is, the basics, and then what you girls have done through these many years to make it so, as Katie Alonso would say, wildly successful. Let's talk about you for a moment. Katie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I started working for you before I even got my bar license. I worked as an intern in your office I guess in 1996. And I've been with you ever since. So I am an assistant public defender for the Public Defender's Office. I work in 4 counties, Okeechobee, St. Lucie, Martin, and Vero.
Yeah.
And I do all diversion work. So I do all of the diversion courts, which we'll talk about. Mental health court, veterans treatment court, drug court is kind of what we do.
And you're actually a supervisor as well.
I am a supervisor. We have a small division, a diversion division within your office, and we also do client services, which is we provide support to some of the other divisions.
Right. And it's in your spare time, we got to give a pitch for the charity that the Public Defender's Office started 13 years ago. You are the secretary for Life Builders of the Treasure Coast, which also helps particularly this group of clients. Jessica, tell us about yourself.
Well, I graduated law school in 2006, and I immediately came to work for you, Diamond, and I've been here ever since. I think I came to the diversion court division in about 2008 and have been working under Katie since then.
Great, great. Now, you girls are both full-fledged regular lawyers. This is just your niche, if you will, as an assistant public defender, correct? Okay. Katie, why don't you, because we work in it and we deal with it every day. Diversion courts is something we understand and you know, live with every day of our lives. But the general public needs, and let's start with the basics. They need, if you can define, if you will, what a diversion court is, but also to give an overview, the criminal justice system, and stop me if I'm wrong, obviously, you know, deals out, if you will, punishment for people who have committed crimes, and which is obviously part of the system. We are those who are appointed to represent people who are accused of crimes who can't afford a private lawyer. And the criminal justice system goes along day after day in a particular way, and it does so across the state and across the nation. But several years ago, and I give all the credit to you and Lisa Fontaine, decided we needed an alternative. And thus, the diversion courts were created and started, not all at the same time, and we're going to talk about how successful and how they have gone circuit-wide, but decided there should be an alternative, and thus diversion courts were started. So, with that background, I didn't want you to have to start. When the dinosaurs roamed, we started. Tell us, why are there diversion courts? What are diversion courts?
Well, the term diversion courts basically just mean that you're diverting a case from regular court, regular criminal court, like we know, like we see on, TV, it diverts them from that court to a specialty court. So these are problem-solving courts. And the point of them is basically that there are services in the community, but maybe they can't be accessed by all people all the time. And maybe they're not enough. So like you can go, if you have a drug or alcohol problem, you can go to counseling. But there's no one telling you have to go to counseling. And so what they have found is that if that person is in a court system where the judge is watching them, are you going to counseling? How are you doing? Let's hear from your counselor. Let's drug test you. Let's kind of hold you accountable. That it's so much more successful than just
Right.
you saying, I'm going to go to counseling.
Right.
I guess it's kind of like, you can lose weight by yourself, or you can go to Weight Watchers
Yeah.
and be accountable. So it's that accountability that it is not there absent a court system. So that they've kind of, they figured out that makes success so much better. It makes it more sustainable. It makes it easier to access those community services that are already there, just by having, kind of court supervision. So,
Well, let's start from square one, and Jess, you can answer this one. Someone gets arrested, gets appointed an assistant public defender, and they're charged, let's say, with possession of marijuana, possession of cocaine, whatever, in the criminal justice system. How does one get to a diversion court? How does that happen?
It varies a little bit by county, but in general, the attorney assigned to the case should be looking at it to see if they're eligible. Drug court is particularly a nationwide program, but each state has their own laws governing it. So in Florida, you can have up to 2 prior felony convictions as long as you have no violent charges. And then your attorney can say, hey, are you interested in doing drug court? And then we can set you to watch drug court. And we call it an observe process. But they get to come over to court, see the process, meet the team members, decide if it's something they want to do with their case. It is totally voluntary because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of desire to change and get into recovery. So once they come to drug court, if they're interested, court administration is there. They give them an orientation. They will do a needs assessment and say, okay, this person is ready to go. And we come up with a case plan for them. At that time, if they want to enter, they do have to plead guilty or no contest to their charges. And once that happens, they start drug court.
But there's a carrot at the end. And what is that, Katie?
So it depends how people come into the court. Some people come in as a condition of probation, and some people come in as a true diversion. So if they're in as what we call a diversion, it's a diversion from the criminal consequences. So essentially, when you complete drug court, your charges are dismissed.
Okay.
So that's the big carrot. But sometimes that's not appropriate. If someone has a lot of prior offenses, if the charge is more serious, maybe the state won't agree or the judge won't agree to dismiss those charges upon their completion. So they're in as a condition of probation. So they have kind of an extra level of supervision. And in those cases, maybe we can terminate their probation early, or maybe they just successfully complete. So
And the carrot for that group, I guess, if you will, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, is that they can get clean. They can hopefully get in recovery, and get rid of their drug or alcohol addiction, and lead successful lives. So even though their charges aren't dropped, the carrot, I guess, if you will, is that, hey, I'm sober.
It is, but also in some of those cases, maybe they were looking at jail or prison time as a sentence on the front end, and maybe the carrot was, we're going to give you a chance. We know that your problem is addiction. You're not really a criminal. You don't belong in the criminal justice system. You have a problem. So maybe the judge said up front, instead of sentencing you to jail or prison, we're going to sentence you to probation with mental health, or with drug court as a condition.
Okay. Walk us through, if you will, these started, what, 16 years ago, basically? Drug court was the first.
I think we started drug court right around 2000.
Really? So 22, yeah, wow. Yeah, time flies. I have it on my little blotter in the office because people ask me that all the time, and it just, you know. Okay, so 22 years ago, the first diversion court was.
It was drug court in our circuit. So drug court actually started, I think, in 1989. Janet Reno, who was our attorney general, was a state attorney in Miami, and she started drug court down there. So that was the first in the nation.
Wow. In the nation?
In the nation.
Wow.
And we weren't too far behind, but we started in about, we started planning, I think, in the late 90s and started implementing in 2000 or so. And we started, I think, in Martin County, and then moved to St. Lucie, and then Okeechobee. And
you know, I had forgotten that it started there. And now this takes funding, buy-in from other agencies, all of that. What are we talking about as far as the collaboration, I guess, is the right word, that it is needed to make these things happen?
Well, we have all sorts of team members. We work as a team. It's a non-adversarial process, but of course we all have jobs within the legal system. So there is a judge, there is a designated prosecutor. Katie and I handle the defense side. There are probation officers assigned. There are court administrative case managers there, and treatment providers. Our treatment providers vary depending on what court. If it's Veterans Court, they're mostly from the VA. In mental health court, we have mental health court agencies, substance abuse agencies. In drug court, the people around the table are the substance abuse providers.
Well, and I want to get to what a staffing looks like, so the viewers can understand, you know, how it is truly a problem-solving court. But let's give an overview, Katie, if we can. There isn't just drug court. What are the other courts, and where are they?
well, the next thing we did in our circuit after drug court got established is we basically wanted to tackle mental health. So the criminal justice system is not capable of handling people with mental health issues. It's not the place for people with mental health problems. But we were seeing, as funding is being decreased and the community mental health agencies weren't able to help all the people, there's a lot of people in the community that, you know, when a law enforcement officer sees them on the street, there's not a whole lot of options. So they were getting arrested a lot more often, and our system wasn't able to take care of them. So we worked for years and years to come up with a mental health court. And it kind of mimics drug court in a way, but it's way more wraparound. We have case managers, and you know they're in contact all the time with the clients, and we can make sure that they're getting the services that they need. Martin County has gone a little bit further, and we actually employ a doctor, a psychiatrist. So we kind of have our own mental health court psychiatrist. And the other counties, we have our own mental health court case managers. And, you know, so we really kind of try to wrap around services, try to be there before people get unstable, make sure that they have what they need.
And there's also
a Veterans Treatment Court. So after mental health court was established, we started tackling the Veterans Treatment Court.
Right.
And Veterans Treatment Court is amazing because, you know, what population would you want to help more than, you know, people who served our country? And, you know, a lot of times they don't get the help that they need, and they can't access services that they're entitled to, you know,
Right.
VA services, and that's really tough. And so Veterans Court is really kind of neat because they have the added what we call battle buddies or peer mentors. And so there's tons of people who have served, who are not in trouble, who want, with the criminal justice system, who want to come
Oh,
in
to help.
and help. So
And those are your battle buddies?
they get a battle buddy. So everyone that comes into Veterans Treatment Court is assigned a mentor.
Right.
And that is their battle buddy, and that's like a friend. So they can help them navigate, and they really do all kinds of stuff for the clients, all kinds of stuff. Help them get the services that they need,
Right,
and
because
just be there.
there are services out there for our veterans, thank goodness, but sometimes it's just a matter of how do you, as you said, navigate the system? How do you, find out what they are and get them? Because
Accessing services isn't easy at all.
Yeah.
At all.
in all arenas, really. Yeah.
But the VA is kind of tough, and there's a VA outreach employee that is assigned to the court that helps also.
So, okay, let's recap. We have Veterans Court, Mental Health Court, and Drug Court. Is that in all 4 counties in the 19th Circuit?
Yes, except we don't have yet Veterans Treatment Court in Martin County.
Okay.
But if you are a veteran and you have a case in Martin County, we can kind of get you into one of the other courts.
Okay. So, Jess, let's talk about, a day in the life of a client who's been diverted into, let's say, Veterans Court. Okay, so now they're in court, so they're not on the arraignment dockets and all of that most people are familiar with. They're boom in diversion court. So what happens next?
So I give these clients a lot of credit because we ask them to jump through all sorts of hoops. It is part of their daily life. If there's substance abuse in Veterans Court or everyone in drug court, they're on a testing schedule. They have to call a phone number every single day, and it will say report for drug testing the next day on a random basis. So people are probably being tested 2 to 3 times a week minimum.
Wow.
So that right there, and most people are working full-time, so they have to find a way to get there, drug tests. We've found that most employers are very amenable to the whole process, so that's been good. And then the most important part of any of the court is the therapy. In Veterans Court, you'll have a big mix of mental health and substance abuse, maybe some interpersonal skills, anger management. And so that's at least once a week. Some people are going 4 to 5 days a week for 3 or 4 hours a day for their therapy.
Wow.
So it's a huge commitment. And they also have to come to court every 2 weeks and see the judge, because that's where we can praise them for doing everything, or we can make adjustments and hopefully get them on the right track to remain sober or to remain compliant with their treatment
Or
plan.
terminate their opportunity, if you will.
Yes, we are not a zero tolerance sort of court because we understand addiction and mental health. So people slip, and that's okay. We adjust the treatment plan. There may be a sanction. They may have to do community service or have a curfew or even spend some time in jail, a couple days, hopefully.
And so people know that doesn't necessarily mean, let's say someone has to get drug tested 2-3 times a week. The 3rd time that week, they're positive. So they come to court, they go before the judge, they go before the team, and the team is made up of all the people you talked about before, correct? The prosecutor, the judge, the service providers. Everybody kind of works together to say, should we let John, should we terminate him, should we kick him out, or should we give him another chance, right?
Right,
no?
and our termination talks are generally not so much how much have they used, but are they doing all the things to make themselves better?
Right.
Are they showing up?
Right.
Are they showing up for treatment? Sometimes people start and it's everything it takes them to get there, and they may not participate. That's okay, they went. And we want to see growth. I think one phrase I hear a lot is progress, not perfection. And so we just take baby steps. everyone's steps look different. Some people, just getting them to a drug test, even if they're positive, is progress. And other people come out doing a lot better from the start. So everyone's different, and everyone is treated differently.
Right.
In drug court and in all the diversion courts.
So we learned a long time ago that punishment doesn't work to stop addiction. If it did, we wouldn't have a criminal justice system. You and I would be out of jobs. It doesn't work. If you say stop using, it doesn't, or I'm going to put you in jail. If that's
It's like, okay.
if that worked, then
Right.
drugs wouldn't be a problem. So we understand that in drug court, and we work with it. And like Jess said, you know, you didn't use today. That is great. Let's work on tomorrow. You know,
Right.
like it's that kind of help that we really try to give people.
Well, I'm just curious. How many people, do you have some percentages to share with us as far as success, failures? How many people fail out of these courts? Generally, you can be specific. What's the bottom line?
Well, I can tell you in mental health court, with the general public, so if you don't have a mental health illness, or if you're not in mental health court, the recidivism rate is about 70%. So that means if you have a mental illness and you go into the system, you're 70% of those people who have mental illness
Are going to get
rearrested.
Right.
So if you go through mental health court, our number is about 10%. So if you successfully complete mental health court, only 10% of those people are getting rearrested.
Which is incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. It's amazing. Well, and that just shows you that what people need is not more punishment. What people need is access to services
Right.
and the ability to get stable, at least
Right.
that population.
Right.
And so, you know, that really means that we're picking the right people to come in and we're helping them enough so that they can be successful. I think drug court is about 15 to 20% recidivism.
Wow.
I don't know exact numbers on that. I do know just anecdotally, working with these people every day, once they're in, very few fail out. Very few are kicked out for non-compliance. Some choose to leave either because they
It's more
don't
than
want
they-
to participate
yeah, or
they
they can't. Yeah.
A lot of people in that court are first-time offenders. Their alternative would be probation, and they'll probably be successful. Some people don't have transportation, and so they choose to, you know, it didn't work out for
Right,
them in drug
right.
court. But I think once people are in, for the most part, the team really works to get them to the finish line.
What about Veterans Court? Do we have any stats on Veterans Court as far as success?
Oh, I feel like no one leaves Veterans Court. Everyone will get to the end, it feels like, successfully.
Really?
The numbers are much smaller.
Yeah, well,
They have more
obviously.
attention, I think.
Right.
They have their mentor, their battle buddy, everyone cheering them on.
So, for lack of a better phrase, and I hate this phrase, but it is kind of true. It is a lot of hand holding. It is a lot of care. It is a lot of love. It is a lot of time, effort, and money to make these successful. Correct?
It is. The money by no stretch is it more expensive than incarcerating people.
Right.
Incarcerating people, especially people who are mentally ill, is insanely expensive.
Well, and I want to, divert for a second on that. I going around the circuit and giving speeches to various groups, liberal groups, conservative groups, whatever. It's always important because people get the wrong impression of diversion courts. They feel like, oh, well, that's a giveaway program. That's just, helping criminals that don't deserve it. They broke the law. They should be punished, blah, blah, blah. And it's costing so much and whatever. But that's just not the case.
It's not the case, but also it's really important to understand that people, you can incarcerate people. You can put them in jail, but they're going to get out. The people who are not going to get out of jail, the people that get life sentences, they're not eligible for any of these programs.
Right.
So the people that we're talking about, if they were to be incarcerated, they would get out. and they don't get any help in
Right.
jail or
Right.
prison. So
Right.
they would get out the same, if not worse, than where they were when they went in.
Right.
And as a society, I mean, we look at public safety too. We're from the Public Defender's Office, but in these programs, we understand public safety. We understand the need for public safety.
Right. We don't want people breaking into our homes either.
Right.
But
and so if they're going to get out anyway, if we can get them out into our programs,
Right.
then they have a chance at being really successful, as we just said, really successful in life
Right.
and not reoffending. And as a community, we all win when that happens.
Right.
There is nothing easy about our programs.
in fact,
we asked them
I
to do
think it would. I'm sorry, Jess. I just to interrupt. I think it would be fair to say, and I do say it,
Mm-hmm.
that these are more rigorous than just standard probation.
Absolutely. One judge will say probation is easier, but if you violate, and that's that. We ask them to do so many things. So it is hard to do what we ask them. It's also hard to be an addict and get into recovery. I mean, they have to we can help them, but they're doing all of the hard work.
Right.
So for their health and also for their criminal case, there is a lot expected of them, and it is not easy.
Right. Right. Who pays for this? How did the clients pay for this?
So it varies at different times. We have some grants, some state grants and some federal grants. Some of the counties help also.
Have stepped up,
Have
yeah.
stepped up. So different programs are different, and can be different at different times. Like we just ran out of our grant in Okeechobee, so we went from almost completely paid to the clients have to pay themselves. So, and it is expensive. The drug testing costs about $30 a week, and counseling, of course, is like $40 to $60 a week, depending on what
Right.
you have, even more. So it is really expensive to try to do it without grant funding, but it can be done.
Well, what happens? Do you turn people away at times because they just can't afford the $100 a week?
Well, let's circle back to Life Builders. So when we started Life Builders, one of the main reasons we started it is because we did not have grant funding for these programs.
Yeah.
And so we were having people being turned away because they couldn't afford it, and that's not acceptable. You can't not give someone help because
No.
they can't afford it. So-
Especially if they want the help.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why we started Life Builders, and Life Builders is so much more than that now, but we can circle back to Life Builders to help out when someone can't afford it.
Yeah, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have like less than a minute left. I know this goes so fast, and every time, but in 30 seconds, tell us, give me in a nutshell what your biggest takeaway from these courts are.
Mine is just that it is awesome to be able to give people help who need it and want it. And I really do think that we're making kind of life better for everyone because we're helping
Right.
the few that need it.
Jess?
I agree with Katie. It's a population that sometimes gets looked down upon, and showing them that there's a way to get past it. I mean, they're great people. It's been an amazing opportunity for me to be in this division because watching them is really rewarding.
Terrific. Thank you, girls.
Thank
This was
you.
great.